Hi everyone, how's it going? Last Friday, I think it was, I had a VCLT vinyl exchange here in town with fellow VC member Wes. Most of you probably know SupraWes. And I feel bad about the whole thing, I should say first off, because I was kind of unprepared, and he gave me a lot of stuff. He had a big thick box full of records, and I don't know. I feel like I came up short on my end, but I'll talk a little bit about that more in a minute. But let me get right into showing you what he had here in this box. I'll show you the box first. When I saw the box, I felt bad right away. I saw this big thick box. You know, most boxes are about, half that size. I mean, this thing was just packed full of goodness, I could tell, and I thought, uh-oh, I hadn't really prepared. Yeah, so let's get into it. He has a note inside. It says, "Hi, Mike. Here's the ECM records. The ECM you showed interest in from one of my Survivor videos, and the jazz records I grabbed for you from Goodwill a while ago." Now, he had mentioned he'd picked up some jazz records he found at the Goodwill store, the thrift store, and I kind of pictured some junky old jazz records, and it was kind of like, well, I'm just curious what he found, because I'd found some stuff a few days later that was kind of beat up but still interesting. He says, "I enjoyed going through them, and I hope you will also. I especially enjoyed the Gary Peacock and Arthur Blythe records. Happy digging. Cheers, Wes." So that was really nice. So the Pat Metheny he was talking about is Pat Metheny. It's on ECM. Pat Metheny with Charlie Haden and Billy Higgins. Of course, Charlie Haden and Billy Higgins had played with Ornette Coleman. And the first side of the record is either tunes that Ornette had written, or like "Lonely Woman," written by Horace Silver, a tune that Ornette played very often. We've got "Blues for Pat" that Charlie Haden wrote. I don't know if it's for Pat Metheny, I suppose. And then the B side of the record is some Pat Metheny compositions. And I guess, it's not real out there jazz. It's not fusion-y jazz. It's pretty laid back. But I've listened to a lot of Ornette Coleman. I especially like his later stuff from the 70s. It's kind of harmonic type stuff. And really enjoyed it, so I was kind of curious to listen to this, and really enjoy this. It's a great record. For me, I really enjoyed playing this. And I'd always kind of written off Pat Metheny in my mind. I don't know why. Maybe it's just the look. He's kind of got the permy hair going on. I don't know, but great player. So I was really excited to get this, and it's just in beautiful condition. And with all these records, Wes did just a beautiful job of cleaning them. You can tell he vacuum cleaned them. He put them all in Blake sleeves. I mean, just amazing. So that was the Pat Metheny record. The Gary Peacock record is also on ECM. Gary Peacock, Art Landy on piano, and Elliot Zygmunt on drums. I'm not really that familiar with the other two guys. Of course, Gary Peacock. My mouth is so dry. Gary Peacock has been around in the jazz scene for a long time. It's kind of got a little bit of a chamber jazz feel to it, a little bit of the avant-garde feel to it. Really beautiful type music. I've only got 2 or 3 ECM records, I think, so this will be a nice addition to the collection along with the Pat Metheny. But really been enjoying listening to this one as well. And then the Arthur Blythe record you mentioned, I've got 2 or 3 Arthur Blythe records. His records on Columbia, and I didn't have this one. This is Blythe Spirit, also on Columbia, and this is just a really excellent record here. Kind of gets into the weirder sort of arrangement type things. You've got Abdul Wadood on cello, Bobby Battle on drums, I can't see too well without my glasses. John Hicks on piano, Fred Hopkins on acoustic bass, Steve McCall on drums. Yeah, so really interesting type arrangements. There's some tuba on here, Bob Stewart playing tuba. So really interesting. Glad to have this in the collection. Thank you very much. Gold stamp promo. Just beautiful. I mean, in great shape too. A lot of the jazz records I pick up a lot of times are just really beat up, seam splits and everything, and these are all just in beautiful shape, and all of them he cleaned up obviously with the vacuum machine, his vacuum setup, and they're just beautiful. This one's really cool. This is on Muse. I don't think I have anything on the Muse label. I'm familiar with it, but I don't think I have any records on Muse. This is Eddie Lockjaw Davis on tenor sax. It's been around for quite a while on the Prestige label and all. You've got George DeVivier on bass, Victor Lewis on drums, and Albert Daly on piano. And this is still sealed. That's just amazing. I mean, if you found this at Goodwill, that's just truly amazing. I don't know who would have. Still got the price sticker from somewhere, $8. But this is just great. I listened to it on YouTube. Haven't unsealed it yet, but I've been listening to it on YouTube. And really good stuff. I mean, really classic sound of jazz here. So really excited to have that. Like I said, I was just kind of blown away when I opened the box and I saw, you know, I could tell how many records are in here, but to see what kind of records. I mean, these are just really, really good records. And this one, just when I saw it, I was like, holy cow. Cannonball Adderley, Cannonball Takes Charge. And it's the Cannonball Adderley Quartet with Joe Zawinul. Or no, he's not in here. It's Wynton Kelly on piano. Paul Chambers on bass, Jimmy Cobb on drums. And then on some tracks, Percy Heath on bass, Albert Heath on drums, but this is on the Riverside label. Nice classic Riverside recording. Let's see there. Just beautiful. I was just blown away when I saw this. I love anything on the old labels. You know, Riverside, Blue Note, the older Columbias, contemporary Pacific jazz. I love that kind of stuff. And most of the time when I buy them, they're pretty beat up. This is in really nice shape here. Just beautiful. So I was really excited to get that. And then getting into some kind of more obscure stuff I hadn't seen before. Charlie Barnett, I've heard of him, obviously. This is Town Hall Jazz Concert on Columbia. I think this is a nice Columbia 6i. Yeah. I think this is recorded in 1947, so it's definitely got sort of the older jazz feel to it. Don't really know jazz from that period too well, but I do recognize Doc Severinsen on trumpet in his band. The guy from Johnny Carson's Tonight Show, his band leader, Doc Severinsen. Listen to this a little bit. It's interesting. I'm working my way back in jazz, so kind of right around the late 40s, early 1950s, where I'm getting murky, and beyond that, going farther back, I just don't know too well. This one, Jay White. This one's called Street Scene. Now, I didn't realize I've seen this record before. I have. I've seen it with a different cover. This was originally put out, he's a alto sax player. This was originally put out by, well, originally put out on the Essex label, but then it was licensed by Somerset and put out by the Somerset label. And then a guy bought out the Somerset label, and he's got a label, Al something was his name, but he set up a label, Alshire. And so he reissued all the Somerset stuff, or not all of it, but reissued it on his label. But the original cover on this, I'd seen it at the Friends of the Library sale here in town, and I almost bought it just because it has such a beautiful cover. Nice black and white photo from above, kind of a bird's eye view of maybe like an intersection or something. There's a lot of people standing around cars, and it's got like a really good contrast with the typography, the words against the photograph. So that's it's definitely got an older jazzy sound to it. Kind of a little more into the easy listening kind of area space. I think it was originally recorded in 1955, although it says in the back here it was first released in 1958, but according to Discogs it was 1955 on Essex. So yeah, interesting. I'll listen to that some more. Next up, Ralph Moore, Round Trip. This is on the, let's see, he's a sax player, tenor sax he plays. And I recognize Kevin Eubanks on guitar among the musicians here. Kevin Eubanks, of course, played for many years with on Jay Leno's Tonight Show. I think he was the band leader after I think Branford Marsalis was up first and didn't stay long, and Kevin Eubanks became the band leader. But it's on the Reservoir label. I've never heard that one before, but it was recorded at Van Gelder's studio in 1985. It's pretty good stuff. Not really smooth jazz. It's more, I don't really know my jazz genres that well, but I'd say it's definitely more like a traditional, I guess, bop, maybe hard bop. So that's pretty good stuff. And then let's see. Oh, Charlie Rouse. This one's called Epistrophy, and this was his final live performance, or it's called The Last Concert, recorded in San Francisco at the Thelonious Monk Birthday Tribute in 1988. And this is on the Landmark label. Now, Landmark was the label that was founded by Orrin Keepnews. He'd started the Riverside label. Is that right? Maybe not. But Keepnews had I think he had the Riverside label and then Milestone label. Milestone in the 70s and early 80s, and then he started up Landmark. I've got some Bobby Hutcherson records on Landmark. So pretty good label. Yeah, this was a kind of a tribute concert to Thelonious Monk, and some really good musicians that night apparently, and they joined Charlie Rouse here. He was a sax player in Thelonious's I guess quartet, played with him for many years, and he goes way back to the early 50s playing in jazz. But you've got Don Cherry on trumpet, Buddy Montgomery, Wes Montgomery's brother, on vibes, George Cable's on piano, produced by Orrin Keepnews. Really good stuff here, and plays really well, interestingly, because it's like if you read the notes on the back, 7 weeks later he died from lung cancer. This was his last live performance, public performance. So really nice, still in the shrink, just in beautiful shape. And getting into some interesting stuff here. Let me switch these around to order here. Some Freddie Hubbard. Of course, everybody's heard of Freddie Hubbard. Great trumpet player, going way back to the Blue Note days. This is kind of more traditional jazz, although this is from the 83 on Atlantic here. But he's got Lou Tabakin on tenor sax, flute, and alto flute, Joanne Brackeen on piano, Eddie Gomez on bass, and Roy Haynes on drums. So good band here, and just good music. You never quite know what you're going to get with Freddie Hubbard. He had some stuff in the late 70s that didn't quite do it for me, but this one was pretty enjoyable. And then lastly, this one's kind of, I'm not sure what to think of it. Lou Donaldson, another guy who recorded for Blue Note back in the day, a well-known jazz musician. This is from I'm guessing the late 70s, yeah, 1977 on Cotillion, which I'm generally familiar with for the first few Emerson, Lake and Palmer albums, but I guess they were always kind of an R&B funk division of Atlantic Records, and this is very disco-y. This is called Color as a Way of Life. And so he's got kind of a full disco string section behind him here, and the disco band behind him. I don't know, I'm not sure what to think. I used to just hate disco stuff with a passion. anything with just even like jazz music with a string section backing it used to just make me cringe. You know, because I grew up in the 70s when I was a little kid, and I remember hearing all this stuff with the syrupy strings and kind of the disco here and there. It just, ugh. But I've kind of gotten to the point now where I can deal with it a little better, like listening to things like Bob James's recordings from the early 80s, which kind of take a little bit of that leftover disco sound, make it a little more sophisticated, and, you know, a little more like kind of funk based, but very soft. I can handle some of that stuff now, and you know, some of the funk disco stuff I can enjoy. But yeah, I'm slowly working my way into the disco, so this will be an interesting lesson. Definitely, if I'm in the right mood, I can enjoy this stuff. If I'm not in the right mood, it's a little too much. But interesting. It's interesting how a lot of jazz musicians, even like Herbie Hancock, really embraced the whole disco thing, just trying to keep their career going, and it was just kind of probably not the best move for them career-wise, but they survived it. So what I was saying is about how I felt bad about the whole thing. You know, I hadn't really prepared too well ahead of time. We talked about meeting up, and we'd set Friday as a date. And I had all these records I picked up from the free bin at 2nd and Charles, and a lot of them were kind of like 70s rock stuff. And I'm not too familiar with 70s rock, early 80s rock kind of stuff, and I was hoping there was some good stuff in there that Wes might enjoy. So I kind of met up with him first and let him look through. I donated everything that I wasn't keeping back to the Friends of the Library for their big sale. And there really wasn't much in there that he was interested in. Yeah, I guess it wasn't that good. And so I said, well, let's meet up again. I've got some records set aside. And I had like 4 records and a CD set. And I actually had a record that I set aside here, and I forgot to add to the thing. And you know, there was a heavy hitter in there, a Pharoah Sanders record on Impulse, and a couple of kind of electronic things, and then a record that was sort of a wild card. I threw it in there. I picked it up for free in the free bin, just like curious. It was kind of a small label thing. I was curious, you know, what the deal was, if it was worth anything. When I looked it up on PopSite for completed auctions, it went from like 25 to 90 bucks, and this one was still sealed. It looks like it's some kind of like you know, hard rock type thing out of California from the early 80s. And so I threw that in there. I kind of made a note like, you know, look this up and see if, you know, it's worth something, to see if you can throw it on eBay and Discogs and sell it. And someone actually has a copy listed on Discogs for like $125, you know, the one copy that's listed on there. So it might be worth something, maybe not. It might not be worth its time. You know, I felt bad about it afterwards. It's like, it's kind of like giving someone a lottery ticket for Christmas, you know, or a scratch off. It's, yeah, it could be worth something, but chances are it's not, or it's, you know, I don't know. So definitely the next exchange, I've already got some stuff set aside, some really good stuff for my collection that I, you know, looking through, digging through. I've got some things I have doubles of, some really good stuff that are going to be the meat of what I give them next time. I just got to find some potatoes to put in there too, some more kind of interesting stuff, but I think these are pretty solid selections. Most of the people in the vinyl community will be aware of the records themselves, or at least the artists. And it's stuff that's kind of experimental, but it's not so far out there that most people wouldn't enjoy it. So I think it's pretty solid selections, but I definitely feel like there was a real trade deficit there. Like, he gave me a lot of good stuff. I mean, these are good jazz albums. They're all in beautiful shape. He cleaned them all. They're beautiful. I mean, I feel like I brought a knife to a gunfight, you know. It's just, he had some really, really good stuff, and I didn't. I owe him some records. I mean, that's the bottom line.